Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Exam season for 10 million Indian teens has been thrown into chaos after some of the tests were leaked online. We talked to someone who's been through it, so what's it like to have your entire future based on some tests from your teenage years? It's crashed or splashed down in the Pacific. China's Tiangong-1 is back on Earth and at the bottom of the ocean. Pyongyang treated to pop South Korean style. And find out why this Saudi guy shaved his head and dyed his beard pink and is urging all his mates to do the same. Now, top of our news feed, Indian exam season and a national outcry after questions from some exams were leaked. Well, the opposition leader Rahul Gandhi tweeted about the situation, saying the exam leaks destroy the hopes and futures of millions. And this is what happens when institutions are destroyed by the RSS and the BJP. Of course, they're the parties in power. Believe me when I say this, it's only the beginning. Well, that's Mr. Gandhi's opinion. Now, many of you will have, of course, gone through a similar period. I remember my A-levels and that was a bad day. But in India, it's really something else. Passing is not just about you, it's about your family, your hometown, your caste. They really are a pressure cooker, and in recent years it's been reported that there's been an increase in suicides as the need to pass overwhelms people who are, let's be honest, still children. And it wouldn't be exams without cheating, and 2018 has its own 2018 way of doing it. The papers to 2 exams were leaked online, and now those students will have to take those tests again. That's about 1 million kids. Well, Nia Punya is in New Delhi. So, Nia, first off, where are we with these leakers? I know there have been some arrests.
That's right, Kamali. There have been 3 arrests so far. One of those arrested is a teacher of a school here in New Delhi, and it's now emerging that she was handed the question paper a couple of minutes before that paper was to be distributed to students, and it was during that time that she managed to take a photo of the entire question paper and send it via WhatsApp to a couple of students, who then circulated it to a tutoring center, which was responsible for training many students for this crucial exam.
Absolutely. So it's been passed around through WhatsApp. The internet strikes again. Now, Nia, just take us through the feeling that is. I tried to explain a bit of it earlier, but the feeling of taking these tests in India is really serious, quite different to many other places around the world.
Absolutely. It is often told to students that this is going to be a make or break moment in their lives. And I'll tell you why that's so important, because in India, these high school exams are what are used to qualify for university admission. So if I'm sitting for my class 10 exam, I'm being told repeatedly, not just by my teachers, but also by my parents, by my friends, anybody who's in any sort of position to influence my future, that this is going to decide where I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
And that sense of being a teenager, I mean, I think I still, at 15, wanted to be a footballer. I had no idea what I was going to end up doing. Having that kind of pressure at that stage in your life, it's got to be really difficult for people.
Absolutely. As you can imagine, most of these students who are sitting for these exams possibly have no idea what they're going to do either, which is why it is so important for them to excel in all the subjects. And in the class 10 subjects, which is junior high school in India, you're sitting for not 1 or 2 papers, but close to 10 subjects. When you go to senior high school exams, that's when you're sitting for about 6 subjects, but they're just as crucial. And as far as these exams are concerned, you know why there's so much pressure, Kamali? Because look at the kind of university cutoffs that we're speaking of. In India, if 100 is the highest mark that you can get in any subject, the cutoffs based on which you will get entrance to any university is 99, 98. And the pressure is immense because you have to qualify in order to go to a good university.
Absolutely. And it's been politicised, as I said. Mr. Gandhi has been tweeting about it, blaming the BJP, the ruling party of Narendra Modi. I mean, politics getting involved in these exams just shows you how important these exam season is to everyone.
Absolutely. And Prime Minister Modi, just before the exam started, he released a book called Exam Warriors, where he gave tips to these students on how to battle exam stress. Now, the main charge of the opposition is, instead of doing that, what the government should have essentially done is ensured that the board that conducts these exams, the CBSE, had simply done its job and kept these papers under lock and key. Because not only in this case is the CBSE, we're learning they were aware of the leak. They didn't call off the exam until after the students had written the paper. And now they're saying, why didn't they just stop the paper before the students sat down?
And they've got to take these exams again. I mean, how much longer is this exam season going on for?
One of the exams is going to take place in the next couple of weeks. One was slated to take place today, but we're seeing protests in India in some states over a minority group holding many demonstrations in different states. And because of that, that exam, I believe, has been postponed for another date. So from where I'm standing right now, this process seems unending.
Absolutely. Okay, Neha, well done for passing yours, and we hope that those guys who have to retake theirs pass theirs as well. Thank you for now. Let's look what else is trending on social media. Goodness gracious, Great Balls of China. The Tiangong 1 is back, and it didn't come down anywhere really interesting. It crashed in the Pacific Ocean, nice and safely.
Most of the bits would be small, so you wouldn't really even notice that it was a piece of space debris. It would just look like rubbish in the ocean or metal bits that, in fact, probably just sunk to the ocean. So we're unlikely to really see bits of this space station again.
Now, I've only ever seen Kim Jong-un clap this wildly once before, and that was always after successful launch of a missile that could possibly threaten the US. But it also appears that the Supreme Leader is into his K-pop. This is after him watching the group Red Velvet, who are in Pyongyang as part of a 160-strong troop bringing K-pop beats to avert nuclear bombs. And Kim seems into it, which I'm not sure is a good thing. Steven Spielberg has had his biggest opening weekend of the decade with Ready Player One. It's a movie of cultural references from 80s movies made by a guy who made some great 80s movies. Now, I haven't seen it yet, so I will reserve judgment. My friend who has seen it, though, walked out. Well, if you're watching this on your phone or laptop, it's most likely being powered by a lithium-ion battery, and an essential component is cobalt. In many cases, that cobalt is dug out of the ground by children, as Omar has been looking at.
Inside this battery is an element that may have been clawed out of the ground by a child in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The reality is that around 40,000 children in the DRC work in the cobalt mines in horrible conditions. They work in narrow tunnels carrying heavy loads without gloves or masks, which can lead to permanent lung and skin damage. Between 2014 and 2015, 80 deaths were recorded, but the real number might be much higher. Child miners can remain underground for 24 hours just to earn $1 or $2 a day, if they're lucky. This Central African country is among the world's poorest nation, where an estimated 90% of its population live in severe poverty, and families need every penny just to get by, so they send their kids to work. Poor legislation and labor law enforcement doesn't protect workers and makes people vulnerable to exploitation. While the country may be poor, it's rich in minerals, and cobalt is one of them. It has about 50% of the world's cobalt deposits and is the world's largest producer. That's right. There's a large Central African country with a rare and valuable mineral underground, and it's not vibranium. And the DRC is not Wakanda. The DRC fought 2 bloody and destructive regional wars in recent history. Corruption, chronic ethnic conflicts, and endless wars over its wealth have persisted since it gained independence from Belgium in 1960. Today, one battle is over cobalt. It's the key ingredient in rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, you know, the ones that are in virtually every portable electronic device, like your cell phones, tablets, and laptops. And that's not all. Electric vehicles like Tesla are using really big batteries to power them. And these high-powered batteries need a lot of cobalt to function. So demand has gone up, and so have the number of miners. 20% of the country's cobalt production comes from manual mining. That's where the kids are working. Their cobalt goes to a large market where it's sold to refineries and ultimately shipped to China, where it's refined again, then sent on to countries around the world. Batteries made with the cobalt are used by companies like Apple, Microsoft, Samsung, Tesla, and BMW. An international human rights movement has been shedding light on the situation and helping the child miners. With all the bad press around cobalt mining, many companies are on the defensive and say they'll buy only from ethically sourced suppliers. Also, the DRC is planning to launch a new monitoring mechanism to tackle child labor. Will it work? Will companies like Apple and Samsung and Tesla continue to fight child labor in the DRC? And can the world enjoy technology without harming any more kids?
Right now, have you ever wondered how much information there is about you online? Well, Tamina knows, and it's just over 5 gigs. Take a look.
Everyone's freaking out about how much data Facebook has on you. But what about Google? It knows where you've been, and it shows every place you visited since 2009. It also stores what you search for, and even creates your own advertising profile based on things like your info, hobbies, and relationship status. Then there's this thing called Google Takeout, where you can download just about everything Google collected on you, all in one file. In my case, they collected 6.5 gigabytes worth of data. Now, if you don't want Google to access your every move, you can simply get rid of the things you don't want them to access through these same pages. Honestly, I don't really mind that Google has this much information on me. I'm aware that by using this platform, it comes with accessing my information. And sometimes Google's access to our data can help improve our experience. But I know that not everyone feels the same way. Are you comfortable with Google tracking you this closely?
All right, let's take you around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Monday. A man who champions the rights of gay people to marry in Costa Rica is set to be president. Carlos Alvarado's victory was seen as basically a referendum on whether Costa Rica was going to be more progressive or regressive, and it chose progressive. President Trump was tweeting on Sunday. One of them suggested he was ending the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA. One of the others suggested he was going to cancel the North American Free Trade Agreement known as NAFTA. Now, people don't know if these are official changes to US policy, as there's been no official press release, and they did come after a segment on the show Fox and Friends, which the president is known to be a favourite of. The usual tropical paradise of Fiji has been hit by a pretty bad tropical cyclone. At least 4 people have died in heavy rains and flooding. The meteorologists who named these things have called this one Josie. The storm's moving southeasterly and is a Category 1 storm with winds of up to 88 kilometers an hour. Now, what impact will the Me Too movement have on the retrial of comedian Bill Cosby? He's back in court today after his previous trial over multiple sexual assault charges ended in a hung jury last year. He faces 3 charges of drugging and assaulting women in 2004. And it is back to the drawing board for the Russian Postal Service, which is testing out drone deliveries. As you can see, didn't go too well. The 7-kilo quadcopter was carrying a 2-kilo parcel, but the test run ended shortly after takeoff. As you see, smashed into the building, smashed onto the ground, and it cost them $21,000. Now, if there's a woman in your life affected by cancer, you'd have heard about the Pink Ribbon campaign. But a Saudi man has gone a little bit further to support his wife. Take a look. got a question for you. Would you prefer me to tell you the news or this guy? That's him. The BBC Kids show News Round thought it would be funny to come up with a spoof show called News Hound, presented by that dog, not the man, but the dog, that one, Pebbles. Now, it's April Fool's Day, but there are plenty online who wished it was a real thing, including probably some of you guys. Well, that's all from the NewsFeed team. Do reach out to me with your questions, comments and complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. We're on Twitter, YouTube and Facebook. Follow, subscribe and add, and I will see you again tomorrow.